So, okay, well, I'll do my own thing on the line of fire, is that right, Michael? This one's called Canberra Tourist Centre. Paddy was there, of course, blessed only soul. But I put her anonymous, please, so that when she sees the YouTube, she won't know, even though it's being recorded, that she's the victim of harm. A woman wants the TV set, and it's Canberra Tourist Centre, by the way, which is just down the road there, and they do have two TV cameras, one that's always off, one in the cafe, and the other on the other side is always on, and usually shows sport and stuff like that. Anyway, she was there. No, this isn't the moment, she yelled out, "G'day, Tony!" I said, "Oh, hello, Paddy, how are you? They won't turn the TV on for the wedding."
Yeah, I heard a whinging about that last night.
Yeah, they wouldn't turn it on, and I want to see the wedding. I haven't seen the wedding yet.
Watch it on YouTube.
That's what I thought. But I didn't say anything anyway.
That's the Jollymont Centre, isn't it?
The Jollymont Centre. You've been there, Michael. Yeah. So it's called Canberra Tourist Centre. A woman wants the TV set on Will and Kate's royal wedding. Why won't you do it? Her patience is low level. The staff have other work than channel swapping. But like the footy, jostle, car race, boxing, bashing, most people like it, they fib on, though clients now are two. Lily white cap and a girl with to them, specs brown dressed, reading as Lil. Hard, spiteful gazing at images far flung from any wedding.
Once again, historically significant.
Get them all down while they're there.
That's right. Will and Kate just got hitched, and millions of people turned up, and a bunch of other millions went somewhere else and tried to have a protest and got busted for it.
You were part of it?
No, I saw about it. Saw bits about it, mostly on YouTube.
In England or in Australia?
Yeah, in England. They were just a few streets down. I think back in Soho, a bunch of people were standing up. Yeah, they were going to do a social commentary.
I think it was Foreign Correspondent or something, a program like that, and might be Dateline, and there was the police were stopping people, and they were making with their jackets up.
Oh, that's right, Dateline,
There's a red and black flag, which apparently is the anarchist flag.
It is.
And then there was another group that had this big ceremony of this guillotine, which they wanted to use.
Yeah.
And the journalists filmed them, but as they started going, the police moved them on. So they liked publicity, the royal family, but they only wanted the good publicity. They didn't want any publicity that was distracting from the good news of...
But the point of it now is everybody's forgotten. I mean, nobody in the centre wanted it except Paddy.
And all those millions of dollars that they spent on the wedding didn't go to the poor, hungry, starving Brits who...
Well, they never go there anyway.
Or the national health system.
And they said, "Oh, this is wonderful. This wonderful constitutional, constitutional monarchy and democracy and so on." But they didn't like the free speech. They wanted to control the speech.
Well,
And even as far away as Australia. The Chaser banned.
Well,
the Chaser was going to comment on the wedding, but they were banned.
The BBC didn't want it.
And for example, too, that we heard on the Spanish news, but it didn't come out in any Australian or American news, though it did come out, I think, in the New Internationalist, which is British. But WikiLeaks, earlier this year, last year, won a prize for the Free Press Award in Galicia, Spain. And it was the 7th annual prize. It was set up in 2004 after American tank fired a piece of artillery that they say assassinated, but I think the word slaughtered fits it better. A whole bunch of journos.
Yeah,
Spanish journalists.
That was in Baghdad, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
They knew exactly where they were. They knew that this is the hotel, and they killed the brightest journalist and injured somebody else.
Yeah.
And on another occasion, you could see them trying to target another building which Al Jazeera was in. They particularly dislike it, and they were trying to get this, and the guy saw the plane, he sort of went down, he was on the roof filming, and when he saw this plane up, he went down the staircase, and they didn't kill him. But they did kill one of his colleagues, The year before in Afghanistan, in Kabul, they knew what Al Jazeera was in Kabul, they assassinated.
They want to get rid of journalists who've got. Anyway, you might have decided.
It gives them even more to fear, really. They're digging their own grave. That's what happens when we make decisions based on fear rather than a genuine understanding of the realities.
You want to turn around and face the music. Yeah, you can turn around and just do it. Because I'm directing YouTube.
So we're going to get some performance poetry now.
On to William.
Okay, this one, I wrote it this morning. I actually started at 20 to 10, which is about an hour and a half and a bit. And I finished it just quarter to 11, so I only just brought it in. I thought playing with the title, is it decisive or decision? Something like that. And it starts, yesterday was overcast and grey, the light feeble, with cool but weak breeze, barely a sigh or a wheeze. But today, a light, and on my way, past the pale frosted grass under the clear crystalline celeste sky, rising a sharp shining sun, casting a warming glow on everyone. Last week, while at work, after months of agonising, I made a decision or two. And then, while walking home, I saw and heard a murder of crows, Australian ravens, overhead flying eastward. I knew I made the right decision, and there will be hard lessons to follow.
Excellent. Very good. I like the hard lines and the sort of rule and the way that it goes. I did that when I wrote. I didn't rhyme it, as I usually do. I just let the words sort of roll out, which seems to be the modern way most poets do it. So
Even T.S. Eliot started like that.
Yeah, what did you think, Michael?
Yes, interesting images coming to my mind there, yeah.
Yeah, lots of alliteration.
And the images, Michael?
Yes, well, the murder of crows. And,
I'd say Australian bearded ravens, that's their full proper name.
Is that a bearded raven?
Yep, it's the Australian bearded raven, one of the most majestic of all birds. We've got the best ravens here, best ravens.
With the long beaks?
Yep, and a bit of a beard.
Yeah.
They can speak. They're very articulate.
Oh, one of them was trained to speak once, I think.
Yeah.
I think that the collective nouns, you can get a lot of poetry from those. You know, there must be thousands of different collective nouns.
Yeah.
Describing groups of creatures.
Can even make them up, some people do.
John, would you like to be on your YouTube?
Oh, me? Yeah. Well, I've written a couple of poems I've just written.
Okay.
Well, what to write about, you don't say. Without a doubt, it's a cool and beautiful day. Up nice and early, sun shining bright. Listen, what do you hear? Birds all about, human activity, industrial noise, buses and cars driving by.
Just like it. Yeah, I like that.
Like the description of today.
Yeah, in the morning, although I didn't feel like getting up and I got up. To go back to bed.
Yeah.
But it's a very it's a lovely time of year, and you've got the bustle of activity here, the church is being refurbished, and the beautiful light coming through the window. And,
I suppose the only time of day you might not have that is maybe on like a Good Friday or something, where there aren't that many cars, but usually that's what you have in Canberra, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, well certainly the forest holidays will be given no buses.
Did you hear this other one?
Yes,
go ahead.
I wrote this other one. They got the bastard, Osama bin Laden, or did he get killed 10 years ago? Conspiracy theorists, it all starts to come out. Did they just kill him? Facebook, where you hear information before the news breaks. Welcome to the digital age.
Good on you, John. That's a good critique of the whole vast.
Historically significant.
You've got these people who tell us what's happened, you know, they tell us the account of the action and so on, and they change their story. One minute they claim we had a gun, the next they say we were unarmed, and so no one really, and they claim that they've thrown into the sea, so now we might never know. Well, no one will ever know whether there ever was.
If there was a Bin Laden, wouldn't the idea be to get him and give him a trial, so all the news would come out? I mean, that's the normal.
Well, this comes from, because there's this link that someone sent me on Facebook, and And there's heaps of links in that they reckon that Bin Laden was killed December the 13th, 2001.
Wow.
Yeah, well that's very interesting.
You know that Pakistani, that lady, she got killed.
The woman got killed.
Yeah. Well, she did interviews and was going on about the person that murdered Osama Bin Laden and all this sort of stuff.
It's interesting, isn't it? And they had these interviews too, where he was supposed to have said things, and he had a lot more he wanted to say. But I suspect he was killed much later.
Yeah, I reckon he was killed 10 years ago.
That makes sense because nowadays.
But the American government, they always try and cover their tracks.
Instead of maybe keeping the body and making the confirmation, they give us this pathetic animation, computer animation of this ship, and then they put the body, and it's a cartoon, and that's the best evidence we've got.
They did that earlier when they said we have news of Bin Laden speaking. Here he is, and they had all this sort of wiggly stuff. That didn't add up.
And they say burial at sea according to Muslim tradition. I don't think so. You've got to bury it in the ground 3 days later in a plain pine box.
And you've got to have a ceremony, and you've got to let the world know.
It's too much
ridiculous.
Because if
about the whole thing.
Yeah, because if word did come out, 2001, the Iraq War was still hot, and if they'd have published his death then, it would have made him a martyr.
Well,
and
yes,
on the one hand, it would make him a martyr for the new people, and at the same time, it'll discourage the old ones. But yeah, because
for you, Michael, I'll bring it over to you. This is the one I just read. Because our machine, the printer machine's gone.
Thank you very much.
I think this is it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
So it's all very annoying when you can't type it, William. We've got a machine that types, but anyway, that's it.
Well, I must say, looking at this, Bill, it looks quite artistic. The way you've got the lines, you've got a long line and you've got a shorter line.
Yeah.
In the way you've broken up the lines.
Yeah, there's no doubt about text, because we've all written today, but I generally like doing it on the machine. But I can't now until somebody gets me a new
Has it given up the ghost? Has yours given up the ghost?
Yes.
Well, it lasts a long time, I suppose.
Oh, it's lasted about 5 years. I've got no complaints there. It'll probably be about $100 to sort of do it, but I'll take the hat around here.
Like I can't even do that on the laptop because I don't have the Word or anything like that. I've got to pay money to get it.
Oh, but you can get an open source one from openoffice.org, and they have a better one than Microsoft Word. Just need to learn how to use some of the different buttons.
I might see you, Michael, out now if Gladstone is dragging his feet because he tends to. He's the bloke who
That's the local computer shop, isn't it?
No, we tried all those. Nothing. See, they want you to buy a new one, so they don't want you to get the toner.
Yeah.
It's a commercial principle now that you buy the lot again.
Yeah.
Because there is a depression going on at the moment. They want to sell their bloody goods. Well, the second one I've done, if I may, John, if your machine is still hospitable, is that the right word?
Yeah.
It's text me. This is a nice little well one. I saw this kid up near Michael, the street. It's Lonsdale Street, up near that cafe, the Greek cafe. You know the Greek cafe?
I know Lonsdale Street.
And he was there, and he was on his bike. And the way kids are, they're about 15 or 16. And he yelled out, "Text me!" And I was early in the morning.
Yeah.
And the other bloke had not said anything. He was just. It was either angry at him, or he was just dismissing him, or he wanted to go and do what other things kids would do at that age wanted to do. So I thought I'd just do a little one about that. And it's called "Text Me ... One to Michael is. I think Michael's. Michael. Special delivery to Michael.
Thank you very much, Bill.
There we go.
That's
the voice in the world.
That cafe up Lonsdale Street, is that?
No, it's not. No, it's terrible.
Isn't that who you are?
Yeah.
Michael, the voice in the wilderness.
Yes, that's a poem, isn't it? I'm losing something.
That's a poem. What I I'll have to
Did I
update you.
give somebody 2?
Yeah, you gave me 2.
I better take one back, sorry.
2 Jolly Mods you gave.
That's it, I want one Jolly.
We're both Jolly Mods.
Yeah, take one.
Jolly
So happy hill, isn't it? Julie Moore.
That's very simple.
Yeah, well there you go. Text me. I've got an extra. Everybody got their text me's or not? You haven't,
Yep,
Michael?
I've got one.
So you got one, John? Have you?
Yeah.
Michael, you got a text me? You haven't. Okay. Yes, good exercise for the old tummy. There we go.
Thank you.
I'll be perfect by the time this is all over. You got one, Michael? Text William, sorry?
Yes, I've got one.
And John's got one. Have you text me? Boom. There we go, one left. The interesting thing is about all this technology is I go out to the little shop in Braddon, the little post office, and she's got everything there that I want. She's got pens, she's got a machine of photocopy. If I go to Office Works, I went in after, sorry about this, I'm just rambling on a bit, after one of my favourite Pentels, and as usual I went to one of the assistants and said, oh, you've got this Pentel, blah, blah, blah. And he looked, and he couldn't find it. And I looked, just often accidentally, and there it was. Not this one, but another one. And I said, and he said, no, we don't have it. No, it's not this, it's not here, we don't have it, And there it was.
Yeah.
And I showed it to him. I said, look, this is it, this is the one I want. And he said, no, that's not on. He almost said, you're lying, because according to my little didgeridoo, it shouldn't be there. So how dare you say it exists? And I said, it's here. And I got quite angry. I said, this is it. And he got sort of a bit red in the face and so forth. But it's the age we're in.
Yeah.
It's what the little black box says rather than whether the bloody thing's there or not.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is
Believe
incredible.
me,
You've been through
machines,
this experience.
The whole bureaucratic system is like
It's based on that.
and most of what's written, the word legitimate doesn't mean real, it means readable.
Readable.
Literally, that's what it means.
Well, it means something to do with law too.
It's
Law is when
like
you
asking
mass.
for a blue rubber band, and you find the blue rubber band, you say, look, here's the blue, and he says, no, it's red. It's a blue rubber band.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's red.
But he was getting quite angry, and I was getting quite angry in return. I said, I've got it! And I went back to the counter and I cooled down, and I said, oh, the bloke there is getting very angry with me, and I saw him steaming after me. So he's going to obviously have words to the staff blaming them for something that made him look silly. But I've had him before, and he's a nitwit. He's like one of these people who... Anyway, it's called Text Me, ... Text me, rails young cyclists, spouting brisk and loud, on matters fab or fake, blog, bike or wired, racing spatial, I can't even understand this, no answer wants nor gets, there we go, that's syntax, trivia perhaps, no tangling yet, nor knowledge yet for sale. Trivia perhaps, question mark, no tangling yet, knowledge yet.
Net.
Yeah, net, no tangling net, thanks Michael. Net knowledge yet for sale, thank you very much for that. His ecstasy in movement and the
Tingling.
his ecstasies is in movement, and the tingling of a cloud. In other words, he's still an innocent, hasn't got used to the ways of office works and the rest of it. Any questions? It's a bit tangled. What do you think, Michael? You're usually pretty good at it.
Yeah, well, it's got the rhythm of wants nor gets. That's a little rhyme there.
Yeah.
And I like the tribute, perhaps no tangling net knowledge yet for sale. So you've got the two little poems
He's not
quite
flogging
close together.
Yeah.
And then the last lines is also quite poetic, even if it mightn't rhyme particularly.
No, it's not.
His ecstasies in movement. You can feel the movement
And the
going on
tingling
there,
of a cloud.
you know,
Yeah, there's
and
something up
like
there.
that. You know, you can sort of feel the sense
Well, he's a
of
kid,
movement.
and he's not corrupted yet. I suppose this is one of the things. He's running around shouting out, text me, but yet he's on his bike, he's getting his exercise, and he's actually moving. He's not like
And why did you use the word, I'm interested, why did you say tingling of a cloud?
Well, that's his little world at the moment.
Right, because that's interesting, because that describes maybe the frame of mind, is it? But you mightn't have realised this, but it's also a computer term. They talk about cloud computing.
Really?
Which you wouldn't be aware of, I don't think,
No.
take it into, but it's sort of coincidence.
I think it's
that's
theological.
We're talking about his own environment, his own head,
It goes earlier than that. It's a theological thing. I think
He's in
people
his own
having
atmosphere, his own cloud,
ecstatic visions, the cloud of unknowing.
And the angel sitting on a cloud playing a harp.
Yeah, it's meant to sort of refer back to that, so it predates the net.
Like
And that's probably where I got
celestial
it. Yeah. So it's sort of he's on his bike, he's whizzing along.
He's in his own world, in his own cloud.
Well, he's enjoying himself and he's active.
Yeah.
Which is more than I can say for any of us, particularly as we get to a certain age, or even before that, you're sitting down the bloody neck. So, it's not meant to criticise it, it's meant to sort of show him as a...
And that reminds me, Bill, it's not all bad news, and people aren't just going to go and sit in front of something and no longer walk around or do anything out in the park. Often these days people just use it just for a few minutes in a day, and most of the time they're doing our active things. But then when they want to text something, use their phone, they'll do that. So they're not going to be slaves to the computer necessarily.
Oh, but still...
They'll adapt.
Yeah, but I agree, but there are
They'll
still...
dip in and out,
Yeah, but Michael, there are a hell of a lot of people in America and elsewhere, and in Australia, who, you can see them down in that little barracks place where I go to, because the 2XX things, and Andrew's bucketed up and
like Hitler's phone
get into it. Yeah, it's fun. But they're sitting there all day, tapping away. I mean,
it's up to 24 hours. They're in there 24 hours a night.
I know that. That's what I say. So there are differences certainly, but it gets me worried. Jai, I'm sure, doesn't have the disposition to sit down and tap on a computer all day.
No.
And that's a good sign.
I've started using it April last year, and I do use it at least once or twice a week if I can. And it messed with my head so much that I had to take a violin.
Good on you. Yeah. So you do
I practice violin at least
violin, and you're right. You do manuscripts.
Yeah.
No, I think. What do you think, John?
Yeah.
I think it's
useful. I think the machine does.
It's useful indeed, but again, I'm missing the sort of just a type thing.
Just shorthand.
Yeah. Well, look, see, I manuscripted this. I'd rather write by hand at times. In fact, the first poem that I wrote on a computer, I first wrote on paper first. With a pen.
That's interesting.
Even though I'd actually opened Microsoft Word when a fly alighted on the screen and inspired a poem, so I pulled out a bit of paper and wrote.
Remember that poem? That was a great poem.
That's a good one. You've got that in the archive.
Yes, it's the fly. Oh, that was fantastic, yeah.
But what you're saying earlier is probably true, that there's still a lot of people like us four who, me through necessity, and others for various other reasons, not enthused with the machinery that is supposed to make life a lot easier for you, but I'm not sure whether it does.
And William, do you think it's like Pavlov's dog? Pavlov's dog, they salivate when they think the bird's there. So when you write, it gets you in the poetic mind. Whereas if you try to do it at the beginning of your poem with a machine, you wouldn't be in that frame of mind. It's the pen in your hand that gets you in that psychological
you're doing something.
It connects with your brain.
Even typewriters are different to the pen, but I mean it's still good, but it's different. But when you get something, you can get that frame of mind that overrides whatever material you're using.
I think there's a thesis here, William. I mean, in the 19th century, no typewriters, but most of the 19th century were there, and writers did it by, and there you have the rhymes, the rhythms, and so forth. But in the 20th, now it's non-rhyming, non-sort of syllabic.
There's a bit of rhyming still, though, like in the hip hop style. There's a lot of rhyming.
Absolutely, but I was just thinking of the
Oh yeah,
snobbish.
the
high,
Point Elliot Gould,
The
The
high
high
society.
the highest.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
they don't sort of do that. And snobbishness in part, because
Yeah.
they don't want to be mixed up with hip-hoppers, probably. They say, yeah, that's it.
Well, one of
Because
the
the hip
objections,
hoppers from the street.
Exactly.
Or the balladeers from the
Yeah.
bush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but a bush ballad's
Yeah.
the
well,
working
there's a
man.
famous,
Street.
a famous philosopher, I'm not sure Plato or something, so he objected to the idea of writing because he said we would lose the power of poetry because, you know, stories are told in poems.
Yeah.
In order to be able to remember them, they
have to
write
be
so you
rhymed,
can
yeah.
remember because
That's
they didn't
right.
have writing, you see, and people objected to the introduction of writing because they said, well, now we're going to lose the power of making poems. You know?
Well, it is interesting that it's a very valid sort of point because the rhyming around the fireplace and so forth, you know, the huge sagas, you had to have some system. for remembering.
Beowulf and
Yeah,
Siegfried
and,
and
No, I mean,
partly in line with that. Most of the poems I write have been going round and round and round in my head for a certain amount
right,
of time.
indeed. Yeah, because you have a rhythmic sort of pattern in how you write.
Yeah.
I do it my best. These last two.
Mine's all just spontaneous.
Yeah, but you have a
Spontaneous combustion.
purpose, I think.
And William, you capture some on your little recorder, your voice.
Yeah, sometimes I use a dictaphone.
Yeah, and that's a good way.
Yeah.
Or at double X, you can. You can't record there, can you? Funny, isn't it?
We can, but it's fiddly.
But very fiddly. I mean, that's the thing about radio. You can listen to other people who haven't been recorded, but you can't actually.
So, John, do you ever do that? I mean, I've seen usually you like to write down. Do you ever use your mobile phone to speak into if you
No.
think an idea comes to your head?
It comes straight from my mind to paper.
Yeah.
It's a good way. It's very spontaneous. And I think there's a lack in much modern poetry. I mean, the sort of material, I don't know, I've got some along, probably. Oh, yeah, it is. A sort of poem, which is in fact a good poem. It's rather nice. It's Lefty magazine, sent Arena. And often they have pages of, here we go. It's called Op. Now this is, I haven't sort of read it before. I think I have to read it.
Need your glasses?
I need more light, but anyway, I can do it. It's called Composition in Early Summer. It's written by, and William might know the origin of the name here, Alengel Hashmi. Sounds Arabic to me.
European, like European Ashkenazi, perhaps even.
Hashmi,
Ashkenazi.
H-A-S-M-I,
Yeah, that sounds Middle Eastern.
Anyway, it's called Composition in Early Summer. Just have to get the light.
I'll read it if you can't read it.
No, I think I can. I'll have a go at it anyway. The last cactus in the burning sun and the air sucking, oh, the spit of land. This dark fistful of pumice stone is a treasure situate shores touching the desert scales off. Where are these words? I've heard good and strange shift shapes of desire. It's got a question mark over it. Again, the tail of language wagging like a shadow of time. Waters name this place, go round it for that fame. Can you make any sense out of that? Sure. Yeah.
Not really. Yes.
No, William.
Composition in early summer, yeah. The first thing that got me is the cactus. It's often used as a symbol of death.
Good.
As in, you know, I had peritonitis, 24 hours later I would have been cactus.
You would have been cactus.
And also T.S. Eliot in The Hollow Man.
Wasteland.
Yep, and that too, lots of cacti, particularly prickly pear. Okay. The last cactus in the burning sun and the air sucking, oh, the promised spit of land. This dark fistful of pumice stone is a treasure, sinuate shores touching the desert scales off. Where are those words? I've heard good and strange shift shapes of desire. Again, the tail of language wagging like a shadow of time. Waters name this place. Go round it for that vein. Okay.
That's T.S. Eliot type thing. The dog wagging is the tail wagging the dog. Everything. What do you think? It is
It's like
Eliot.
a poem that sounds like exploring something.
Yeah,
And
it
they
starts
say-
off with a very dry images, doesn't it? There's cactus and the air sucking,
Sucking the cactus
and the
dry.
promised spit of land,
Mm.
and then
'Cause
this
that's-
fistful of pumice. Pumice is that old volcanic
Volcanic
stuff that's
stuff,
been
yeah.
or newish.
Spewed
all
out
bubbly.
onto the earth.
Yeah, and it has a very drawing effect. You know, they do tend to be
Yeah.
shores touching, sinuate, as in
Sinuous waves. Waves of the sea, maybe a reference.
So there's images of like desert, sand, and then there's water later on. This is where are those words I've heard good and strange. Shift shapes of desire, and that's again like the dunes, like the sand shifting. So I get like an image of a desert, and
So also the desert and the mountains, the
Yes,
breasts
it's
of the
exploring.
mountains.
It's exploring nature and maybe thinking of going on a journey, but actually
doesn't.
saying, but it's actually
doesn't.
saying that it's other things that have already done that journey, like the waters have done that journey.
Yeah.
They
They've
know
moved
about
on.
it, but the human
Yeah.
beings haven't done
It's
it.
not a
But
positive.
nature.
Eliot was positive. I don't think that poem's very positive, is it?
again the tail of language wagging like a shadow of time. What
There we
waters
go.
name this place?
Yeah. It's a
Go
question.
go
isn't it?
round it.
Mm. But
For
what's
that
it
vein.
saying, William? Is it describing? Or?
Yeah, it's certainly describing, and it's juxtaposing this image of like a dry desert, like but on the sea.
Mm.
You can imagine there's the spit of land, like this dry, sandy,
It doesn't mention the
ridden
sea,
desert.
though, does it?
It's like the person's thinking,
Well, the spit of
Spit
land
of land is
tends
that
to be out in the sea.
sort of going, that little scallop of land out in the sea. Yeah, okay.
It's like a cape, but very thin, and or like a very long, thin
What's the
peninsula.
poem called again?
Composition in early summer.
Yeah, I find
Seasonal.
it a very dry poem.
It is.
That I can't quite identify with because it's even drier than Eliot. Eliot used to have a little bit of something at the end of his, a little bit of hope. But
it reminds me a bit of like that thing on television, the episodes, I think it's called The Human Planet or something, and talking about different aspects of the earth, like the wind and the fire. Every episode is about different things. One is about the wind, and then another one will be
That's
about
good.
what's below the ground. And that's sort of very descriptive about the
Yeah.
makeup of the
And
earth.
also something here, the very last
yeah, the last
stanza.
poem.
Waters name this place. Go round it for that vein. Which says you're not
Sorry?
hanging round.
Just the word waters.
Yeah, waters name this place.
Yeah, okay.
Go round it for that vein. So it's just passing through. And again,
Is it imperative?
No, well, yeah, go
Sort of
round
it.
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that gives it a bit more of a
Yeah,
positive.
because you're going
It's
for
like-
that vein.
it's
It
like
says,
this-
okay, this place is dry. It's a sharp contrast. There's really dry sand and cactuses and pumice on the one hand, and then there's waters on the other that are moving away.
It's almost an analogy with somebody shooting up.
Could be. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
That could be.
But I mean, it's got that very.
Water's going in the vein, yeah. You're talking about the vein,
It's just occurred to me, and I've never shot up in my life, but I mean, it does seem to be part of the culture that maybe Eliot was looking at after World War II. He wasn't looking at people shooting up. He was looking at the angst after World War
Could
II.
even be mining,
Mining.
a reference to mining, because when you mine an ore, you're looking for the vein. Like alluvial gold is gold that the water has broken out of the rock and pushed down, but the vein is like that reef where most of the gold is.
So
that
it
reef
could
that is
it
getting
could be
broken.
geological, but if it's
Yeah.
geological, it'd be a fairly sort of. I mean, it'd be the water, which you've seen and I didn't pick up, certainly gives it a more positive thing. Because to me, life is everything. Death is nothing. I mean, death in this life, as we see it, is nothing. Afterwards, it may well be revealed unto us the sort of stuff we didn't see. So that's good, William. You've sort of enlightened me a little bit about what's in it. What do you think, John? Did you find it a bit mystifying?
Yeah, very mystifying.
Yeah,
I think the Ordinary, and that's supposed to be a socialist journal for people. And this is what annoys me about Arena. You know, they show these, they print these poems here. They had one.
It's interesting to note that arena actually is Spanish for sand, arena.
Well, it's sand. Very sandy.
And yet again, I love this. Right in the middle is that stanza. Where are those words? I've heard good and strange, shift shapers of desire.
Sand.
Well, I've got another
It's
poem.
moving.
Go for it.
I've got another.
Good on you, William. Thanks very much.
Michael, the voice in the wilderness. He stays out of sight, don't want people to see. Just hear the voice, as it's how he wants it to be. Michael, the voice in the wilderness.
The Archangel, Michael. Yeah, Michael, what does that mean in Hebrew?
I know they talk about the 4 archangels, don't they?
The Archangel Michael
Michael's-
is the Archangel, he's the Angel of War. He is the Judeo-Christian equivalent of Aries.
Was he the baby
Mars.
who sent Satan tumbling down to?
Yeah, and he's the one who, when
Milton.
Gabriel met Daniel,
Yeah.
and he said, the prince, and he meets the prince, Prince
He's
Michael.
Adam, isn't it? It was Adam and Eve.
Okay.
So Michael was Adam. But Michael's drove them out of it. Yeah, Archangel. Or was it Gabriel who drove them out?
Gabriel wasn't he the
It's an angel with a burning
delivered the-
sword.
And
That sounds
yeah.
like that would be Aries or...
No, no,
Was
in
Gabriel,
the Bible.
Gabriel the guy who
Gabriel.
delivered the news about the conception or something? wasn't
No,
he?
no, no.
No, Gabriel is the messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabriel is the equivalent of Mercury.
Yeah.
Or, what's that monkey institute? Or
Hermes or
Odin. Odin
That's
or
the Norse
Mercury.
god, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all equivalents.
But when
They're
Adam
all
and
got
Eve-
7 archangels that are symbolic of 7 ways of thinking.
Going back to the Bible, is there any Christians? At the beginning, when Adam and Eve were expelled, was it just an angel that expelled? Who expelled them? Or a particular angel? I think it was an angel with a flaming sword.
Yeah.
I don't think it was any named angel, as I remember. You read your Bible, Michael?
not much.
The
Jews
Jews
a
don't
few
mind
now.
Baptists and Christians, actually.
No, but I'm just thinking in poetic. And in
The
the West.
Talmud to explain the Torah.
Yeah, but I know. But look, it's a traditional thing in English poetry, the Bible.
That's right, because it doesn't specify. None of the Bibles.
I
that
don't
I've
think
read
the Bible specified
specifies
the angel.
which angel. It's just an
It's
angel.
just
with
an
flaming
angel, the
sword,
flaming
yeah.
sword. Yes.
The angel who had a lot of responsibility for them being expelled is Satan. He was the fallen angel
Or Lucifer.
No, but there was an
in
angel
the
from
shape of
heaven.
a snake.
The angel from heaven came down with a flaming sword and said, "Get out!"
Because the thing is,
I remember that. Yeah.
none of
That's
the
definitely-
accounts of Genesis actually directly equate the snake with Satan.
No.
Later on, they might come it up, and in
No,
some
the
early
evil
translations, it's
the
not
evil
actually even a
Yeah.
serpent.
Yeah.
It's a dragon.
Wow.
In some
Well,
earlier.
a German word, Wurm, means dragon, doesn't it?
Okay.
A worm, a dragon.
Wurm.
Wurm.
Vorm, W-U-R-M.
Yeah, you
Wurm.
speak German, you know. Wurm.
The dragon, the word for dragon in German is Drachen. G-R-A-C-H.
I thought it was Wurm.
It might be another word for it, but one of the words is Drachen. That's the word for dragon.
I thought it was Wurm.
I remember seeing
Yeah,
a book.
okay.
Liesbach.
I remember a picture book about.
Scheißkopf.
I remember the Drachen being in a book about Siegfried because he slew the dragon.
Wurm. It was in the translation of Wagner I read. Wurm.
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, the book I read, which was a story about Siegfried, which wasn't based on Wagner. Wagner probably got it from here.
Well,
was
he
about,
did.
was about Siegfried, and he slew the dragon, which
Yeah,
is the
okay.
Drachen.
That's the original draft. Might have been, what is it,
I think Wagner
Scandinavian.
took it from that story.
Might have been
Yeah.
Scandinavian, who knows. Yeah.
I think it's thousands of years old, probably, that
Oh,
story.
yeah.
Oh yeah, and there'd be so many names that can be used interchangeably.
Sure. Well, there we go. Well, that's good. We've had a good poetry session today, haven't we?
Yeah.
And you've got it all on the
Yeah.
on the business.
Yeah,
I don't know what the audiences will think of all this. Michael, you've been sort of a voice in the wilderness, like.
Siegfried was brought up by wolves, you know,
Okay.
because
A bit like
he
Romulus
was
and Remus.
expelled. Well, actually, no, but he was expelled by someone, and he